Hello there, it's your Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. Today, I am just about to see off my bottle of Johnnie Walker Blue. And I was thinking about it last night. When this is gone, I'm not going to go out and spend $230 on another bottle. It's a good whiskey, but I just don't like spending that much money. But there are things that I like about this particular whiskey, including the bottle. It's got a very nice bottle to it. I mean, everything about this feels upscale, nice heavy weight to the bottle, elegant, nice blue tint to it. So, all right, it says our blend cannot be beat. Well, what I was thinking was, could I beat this blend? I'm not looking to beat it, actually. I'm just looking to maybe come up with something that would fill this bottle and actually still taste really good. I hold on to the bottle. It still reminds me of Johnnie Walker Blue, but it's not Johnnie Walker Blue. Cheating, I know, but I did this with the Eagle Rare, and it's kind of an interesting experiment to see if you can pull it off. So I took some Blantons, and no, I'm just kidding. This is my little mini Blanton bottle. I use this for doing my mixing because I love the bottle. And so I decided what I was going to do was I was going to take a whiskey that I had talked with a friend in the past, and he said, you put this particular whiskey up against Johnnie Walker Blue, and while it's not the same, there are some characteristics in it that are similar. Well, that whiskey is $30 to $35 a bottle. It is a blended malt scotch. And so, whereas Johnnie Walker Blue is actually a blended scotch, which means that there is some grain neutral spirits in there, as well as whatever single malts they've decided to toss in there. So I thought, what if I could find something that would add to that whiskey that's close, but it's missing a certain something? And I think I came up with it. So I decided to mix myself up one here and then let it rest overnight, blend itself properly, and then I would come in and do a nosing and tasting of it versus this Johnnie Walker Blue. And I would say that in doing the mix that I'm talking about doing, you're going to have to spend $130, but you'll have 2 bottles of whiskey instead of 1 bottle of whiskey. And so if this is close, it's still a savings because we're looking at that and breaking it down and saying, okay, $65, $65 a bottle versus $235. Sure, I'll take that. I'll take that any day. So the thing I really like about Johnnie Walker Blue is it is subtle, but this bottle is actually less subtle than my first bottle was, is the orange that comes through. A little orange peel comes in. Really nice. Blood orange, a little bit of the wood notes in there. Something very floral in this whiskey also. I don't pull floral out very often, but there's something floral about this whiskey. You get some of the raisin, plum, Oloroso sherry notes in this. Just a nice, subtle, there's a little bit of baking spice on it. So, I mean, it's a complex nose. That's the challenge, is trying to come up with something that is going to be able to hold up to a complex nose. So let's go over here and let's see how I did. And I will tell you what these whiskeys are, by the way. I'm just kind of pulling out. One thing you will notice almost immediately is that my concoction is a bit lighter in color. Here, bring it a little closer. Now, you could say that's because of age. But you know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm actually surprised at how light that whiskey is, even with the colorant that they add to it. This probably has some colorant in it too. It comes from the blended malt likely has some color in it but to their credit, they don't use much if they're using any color in it at all, probably just enough for consistency. So, okay, so on the nose, this is a little more mild. It actually has more of an herbal kind of character to it. Orange is there, definitely orange there. It's not quite as present. So everything feels a little bit more muted in this. The Oloroso notes are not there. I'm not getting really that raisin. But there's a smokiness to it, and that's something else that you'll get out of the Johnnie Walker Blues, a little smoky note. And this just has a nice hint of a smoke to it. It's a pleasant smelling whiskey. I could probably use a little bit more of the other whiskey in there, the more expensive whiskey, and maybe up it, just play with it and see where it fits. Of course, that's increasing my costs over time, but let's do a tasting on this. I get the caramel notes come through actually on the palate. Some honey in there, a little bit of honey, vanilla, a little ginger note coming in now. It builds a bit, and then towards the finish, the heat from the ginger is still there. A little bit of smokiness coming through. The orange is there on the palate through to the end. In fact, kind of a, if you ever have those wax lips, if you ever have the wax lips with the orange, it's kind of reminding me, it's got a little waxy kind of a character to it. It's really kind of interesting how that's coming in on the finish. So I love the nose. The nose is very complex. Then once it gets to the palate, I like the palate, but I'm probably not as sold on the palate as I am on the other bits of it. Nice little bits of grain note in there. I think what surprises me about Johnnie Walker Blue is if it is truly an older whiskey, it doesn't have a lot of those characteristics to it. It feels like some of that new make is still shining through. So it would be interesting to know where this balance is coming from in terms of new casks versus older casks. Grain spirits versus not. They're not forthcoming with how they're blending this particular whiskey. Okay, now for my concoction. It does have a little baking spice. It's interesting, got a little soapy character to it too. I like it. You just got to draw on it a little bit more. Cheers. Oh, the body on this is actually nicer. It's a fuller whiskey. On the palate, it's not really speaking a lot to me other than I am getting a lot of grain notes. I'm getting kind of a graham cracker going on, so a bit of grain and honey going on. And then, like I say, the impressive part is the mouthfeel on that. And then that citrus note comes through. The finish is clean. It's not as smoky as the Johnnie Walker Blue is. Oh, but it leaves a really nice citrus peel note. And that honey is still there, and that grain is still there, and it's just lingering. You know what's interesting is I think I like this, other than the nose. This does not win on the nose, but I think it wins on the body. All right, and I think it wins on the finish, because I think the finish on Johnnie Walker is good, but it's not as it doesn't hit the high points that I'm really appreciating out of this other one. I'm gonna go back and sip the Johnnie Walker Blue again. Interesting to have this little impact back and forth. Probably cleanse my palate between two. Are you curious What have I mixed together to make this concoction? Actually, the nose is lighter now after the Great Reset. I saw somebody on TV doing this the other day, and they weren't doing whiskey tastings. They're doing beer, I think. Yeah, definitely more subtle. Light. I think they're using a lot of grain spirits in that. I really do. And for the price that they're charging, ooh, I almost gave it away. I probably did give it away. And for the price they're charging, let's go back to this one. Okay, now all of a sudden the orange is pulling out a lot more. Maybe needed to breathe. I just poured it. Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's really nice. Actually, that orange scent is typical of the whiskey that I poured in here, the smaller amount. It takes over pretty quickly on this. It's a nice way to extend this other whiskey that I'm talking about. Any guesses as to what my two whiskeys are? Yeah, the mouth feels better. It's not as dark in terms of character. This is a little bit brighter. There's still that little bit of smoke on the finish, but the mouthfeel, oh man, it just hits. Oh, and there's that English toffee coming in actually on the finish. If you handed me these two whiskeys, this is the one I would take. And to think that that cost $230 and this would work out to being around $65, that's something. I think I'm actually going to refill that bottle once I'm done. In fact, I can't wait to refill. I was kind of dreading letting my whiskey go. All right. So what is the whiskey that I'm using that I'm only using a third of, but that's giving me that nice orange character that I have been looking for? It is the Springbank 10, 46% ABV, probably part of the reason why this maybe has a little more mouthfeel to it, because this is a nice bodied whiskey. It is 2.5 times distilled, really nice character to it. And to me, the thing that stands out about Springbank 10, like its label, is the orange. So, but it's hard to find. And as I say, I almost hate putting it into something else and blending it down because it's an expensive whiskey and it's really good on its own. But I'm telling you right now, I am impressed with this blend. 2/3 of this blend is Shackleton. $35 a bottle. Nice blended malt. Very impressed with this whiskey. But I tell you, the things that make this whiskey maybe a little weak to me, Springbank, to the moon. It really actually did a really, really nice blend. So I'm going to enjoy this. If you're ever around me and my bottle of Johnnie Walker Blue is around, I'm keeping it as a nice keepsake, but I think I'm also going to refill it with some of my concoction here because this is a really, really nice blend. Hope you enjoyed this video. I don't do blending videos all the time, but I like to toss them in occasionally. And last night I was inspired because I was like, oh man, you know, some people talk down Johnnie Walker Blue. I think that's unfair in a way, but in another way, I think that me spending $230 on a bottle of whiskey, and I still don't get people who put it on ice because it's like, come on, you're gonna spend that much on a whiskey, you better be a neat drinker. Okay, I tell you, drink your whiskey however you like, but I will judge you if you put Johnnie Walker Blue on ice. That's a lot of money to dilute, so especially when it's already a fairly mild whiskey all on its own. Hope you enjoyed this video, and leave your thoughts below if you think I'm crazy for doing this, or if you thought that this was an inspired choice. Whether you're going to challenge yourself and maybe make this kind of a blend, or maybe suggest some blends to me as well. And give me a like if you enjoyed the video, comments below, subscribe if you'd like to watch more of these videos down the road, and until next time, cheers and Slainte. Nice whiskey, I will say again, maybe a little bit more definition to it, but it's actually amazingly thin for what I would expect out of that age of whiskey.